It's free.
Although we did see some beautiful flood mitigation for these massive
Sorry?
water.
Who's sitting there?
Yeah.
Andrew Plummer
When I
and
get sorting through all of my stuff, I'll give that to you in operation.
Pat Spot.
Yeah, they're amazing as opposed to sandbags like these. You just,
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order, please. Thank you. I'd like to call the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 21st to order. I'd like to welcome everyone, and I just want to take a moment to say were all part of the very first live stream event for Pembroke City Council. So we've done it, and this is all in an effort to be more transparent and accountable and allow more people to hear what we say and to hear the opinions expressed by all the different members around the table. So welcome, everyone. Are there any disclosures of a pecuniary interest and general nature thereof at this time? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the amendment of meeting agenda moved by Councillor Abdallah, seconded by Deputy Mayor Jerva? All in favor? Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Committee for December 17th, moved by Councillor Jackno, seconded by Councillor Reevy. All in favor? Approved. First off, I'm going to ask the Mayor, we have a presentation for Cogeco, Your TV, an appreciation. Mayor LeMay.
Thank you, Councillor Finier. And as the councillor mentioned, today marks an exciting transition for the city, as our committee and council meetings will now be live streamed on the internet for all to tune in. Council and its discussions will be more accessible to the public, as the meetings will be available from anywhere someone has internet access. Our council chamber has been upgraded with camera and microphone equipment to allow for this online broadcasting and make the viewing experience much like as though you were here in person. Access to the stream is available through the city's YouTube channel, which people can go directly to from our website by clicking the green live stream button at the top of the page. Though Your TV will no longer be set up here in person, the broadcast will continue to be available on Channel 12 or Channel 700. Over the years of coverage, there have been a couple of people who have been instrumental in continuing to bring the news of Pembroke Council to the public, and we'd like to call them up to recognize their efforts. So a huge thank you to Tiana Tierney and Trevor Riley for your time and dedication. So Tiana and Trevor, could you come up, please?
Trevor's at the office.
He's always working. So it's with sincere appreciation for dedicated coverage of committee and council meetings with the city of Pembroke.
Thank you.
Welcome. And Tiana, hang on. Here's a little something from the city.
Thank
for
you very much.
And for Trevor. So once again, thank you. I mean, we will still be here.
Yeah, well, I'll still be watching. I won't be in this room, but I'll still be a part of
Great.
it.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care.
Great community partner. And speaking of great community partners, we have a presentation tonight from the Pembroke 50 Plus Active Living Center. Welcome, ladies. And you can introduce yourself, please, to the general public that don't normally watch.
Okay. My name is Mika Mahood, and I am the president of the Pembroke 50 Plus Active Living Center. The report tonight is a report that's required by the city, but we wanted to include everyone tonight. It's the strategic partnership. This finishes year 2 of our 3-year strategic partnership. The center in this past year has partnered with others in the community, providing space and resources to 2 evenings of AA groups, Thursday evening yoga, Pembroke Public Library, Champlain Trail Museum, Renfrew County 55 Plus Games, the Royal Bank, and the Canadian Foundation for Economic Education. The center received its official confirmation of its name change on March of 2019. By quickly looking at the stats, which you have in front of you, you will see immediately, or you will take immediate notice of the increase in the participation of our active programs. This fits greatly with our objectives to help our older adults stay physically active and socially connected within their community. The PowerPoint presentation tonight is in regards to our stats, and our statistician Lynn Miller, who's also on the board, is going to give you the PowerPoint presentation. And then we both welcome any questions after that. So Lynn,
You want to hand me
your little ticker?
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We'll start off, this report is due at the City of Pembroke by the end of the calendar year. So we collect our stats in line with that. This is our mission statement, that we exist to provide adults 50 years and over a meeting place delivering quality programming and education to promote active living for lifelong health and wellness for our membership in a safe and respectful manner. And we think we're actually here to brag about all we do, because we think we offer a well-rounded program for seniors in the community. I'll just say that the center is open Monday to Friday, 9 to 4, except on stats, and then Tuesday to Thursday during the months of July and August. So we are year-round. The only time we close down completely is at Christmas for 2 weeks. We do offer programs after hours sometimes, so the ones we're going to talk about tonight are mostly our regular programming, but we do have things that are after hours, like there's a bridge duplicate bridge that works or goes on Tuesday night. We offer yoga classes after hours, movie matinees, that sort of thing on days other than those of the week. So, we start out with arts and crafts. And this year, through the year, we've had 1,121 participants. You can see we have it broken down in our actual report by month, but the total for the year was 1,121 for arts and crafts. Card groups, so we have quite a range, from bridge to bunco. And bunco is, it's something I had never heard of before I started going to the center, but there are a lot of our more elderly people who play this, and they blow whistles and ring bells, and they have a ball. It's really kind of neat to watch. So we had 2,790 participants. So clubs and education. So we have a book club, we have a chat cafe, we have memoirs and personal essays, and these clubs meet once a month. So we had 165 people participate in that. We have a volunteer who gives computer lessons. She's available most Wednesdays. So we had 41 people come in and take computer. So this is what we're quite proud of having developed over the last couple of years. We have a lot of fitness and active living. So let's get fit a bit as more of a stretching and weights. Line dancing, we have quite a few people into that. So now the active fit 4 days a week. We have had a number of instructors certified by through a program under the University of Western Ontario. And so the people who lead this activity are certified or in the process of being certified. And it's very popular, as you can see. We've had 2,075 people participate over the past year in those 4 days. Tai Chi is popular. Walk in a hike with nature is something we do out of the center. And in the summer months, the nicer months, they actually hike at various areas throughout the county, not just in Pembroke. They go all over the place. And in the winter, they snowshoe. We have yoga 3 days a week and Zumba Gold. So as you can see, 5,011 participants is quite impressive, I think. Then we have games, carpet bowling, and it seems to be increasing in popularity. Darts, we have darts 2 days a week, table games and table tennis for 780 participants. There were 20 different seminars and special events with approximately 487 participants. And you can see on your report that these range from cooking classes to seminars about wills and powers of attorney. And so, it's very important to us that people are able to, continue their education and, participate in items of interest, topics of interest. So they are quite popular. Social and fundraising events. Social events, Diners Delight, members that go to that choose a different local restaurant each month and enjoy an evening out with others. We get probably anywhere from 22 to 28 people go to that every month. Sunday afternoon movie viewings at the center, various bus trips, and of course the annual Christmas dinner and dance, which is always sold out at the Legion. And then we have a number of fundraising events also, our annual garage sale, the Victoria Christmas tea and trivia night, 848 participants. So our total number of participants last year was 11,243 to the programs that we offered. So that's a significant number of people that come through. So I think you had, there was some questions before about fundraising or our revenue. So we did a breakdown of our revenue. So our income last year was $170,057. The Ontario and municipal government contributed 46% of that. So 8,400 was from the city of Pembroke by the strategic agreement. The rest was from the government of Ontario. Our own special events and fundraising. So as I said before, the Christmas dinner, the trivia night, all of these fundraising events, we raised 34% of our funding ourselves. Membership fees, we, as a board, we've made the decision that we want to keep the fees as low as possible to ensure that we can get everyone that everyone has access to it, to ensure that people that are not as financially secure still can come for the low fee that we use. But we do raise 5% of our income through user fees. And the user fees, they pay a certain amount for every time they come to a function or to a program that's, anyway, and donations are 6% and hall rentals 2%. So that's 100% of our revenue where it comes from. So last year, our membership for 2018-19 fiscal year was 597. 52.1% of our members live in Pembroke, and 24.6% live in Laurentian Valley. And the rest are, Westmeath, Beachburg, the rest of the area. So we provide 15 physical fitness activities a week, and our non-physical programs provide connections with others as well as many education and information sessions. So in the 2018-19 fiscal year, we logged approximately 940 hours of use at the center.
1,940.
Did I say 9? 1,940 hours. And we want to give a shout out to our volunteers, which we couldn't operate without them. And our volunteers do everything from baking to leading fitness to fundraising, sitting on committees. And we have at least 100 volunteers who give about 5,000 hours a year to the center. So we would not be able to operate without them. Anyway, that is the end of our presentation. As I say, we just wanted to brag a little bit about what we do in the area. And does anyone have any questions?
Okay, any questions? Councillor Abdallah?
Well, it's more of a comment. I visited your place over the Christmas holiday and went over the facility, very clean and well kept.
Yes.
And I looked at some of the information here when I got the council package on Friday, and the numbers are staggering, what you do and the volunteers and the program that you run. So just want to commend you. And we had to talk about user fees and how you keep them low, and then the people pay for the service that they wanted. So hats off to your group and the volunteers that run the center, and many more years of success, and whatever we can do more to assist you is very important.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly, thank you. I want to extend a big thank you for coming forward and bringing us the information, because it's that information that allows us to know what's going on at the center. And obviously, the city of Pembroke values what's going on with the center, and hence one of the reasons why you're a strategic partner. Similarly, though, that the city of Pembroke pays the lion's share of costs associated with the Pembroke Library, and we see the value in having a library and ensuring individuals are illiterate and so forth. And I guess what my question is, when I see up on the presentation, there's talk about memoirs and essays, and I know at the library facilitates having a book club. I'm wondering what efforts are made between your organization and others. It doesn't have to be just the library, but what efforts are made to ensure that there's no duplication of services? So that's what my question is.
Well, certainly, I don't know. We're a senior center. Our population is 50 plus, and we plan our program accordingly. A lot of the ideas that come to us are from our members. And so we do plan. We do, usually we partner with the library at least once a year. Actually, they sometimes rent space when they have a larger group of their, probably the children, usually once in the summer. And that we're certainly willing to look at the library if they wanted to access some of our senior programming. Certainly it could be something we would look at. And we partner with the city of Pembroke for some of the things, especially when it comes to senior months. And we are doing some of the special events for seniors. So like an ice cream social, it was something that we did when we were young. So it was something that was very pleasing. And we did happen to notice that last year, the library did that as well, and we didn't realize that. And that was open. Many of our programs, like our seminars, are open to anyone in the public. And the same, anything that's sponsored with us from the city is open to all members of the public.
Thank you. And if I just add, like Councillor Dell and I, we sit on the library board, and it's just that from time to time we talk about different programs that are being offered at the library. And again, it's just an effort to try and alleviate or mitigate the if there is duplication, because it's costing, no matter, it's costing someone to put them on. So, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And the mayor?
Just a comment. Councillor Reevy and myself were at a conference this weekend, and Minister Cho, the Minister of Seniors Affairs, was asked a question as part of the ministerial panel. And basically the question revolved around the financing. And I suddenly realized while we were sitting there how fortunate we are to have your group in the city of Pembroke, because not all municipalities have a 50-plus active living center. And that's what the province is providing funding for. And you also mentioned, so the funding, I gather, is the same for 2020. But again, thank you, because if it wasn't for you, I can see where some of the other communities are having difficulty, because you count on volunteers to do so much for yourself. Without the volunteers and without the 46% finance, you'd make it awful difficult for you. So thank you once again on behalf of everyone.
Councillor Reevy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. These stats are amazing, and I applaud you for all your efforts and this valuable service you bring our community. I only have one question, and looking at the total revenues, the hall rentals is only 2%, or accounts for 2%. That seems low to me. You have such a beautiful facility, and it seems there's often a lack of space in the community when people need something. So is that something that you could look at increasing to bring your revenues up in the future, or are you happy with it the way it is?
Actually, Christine, we used to rent it out maybe a little bit more, but one of the things, we made a decision a few years back that our members got a deal. So we don't make as much.
Yeah. And also, some of the people that are using it, like the AA groups and whatever, they don't pay rent. We don't charge them because we think it's a community service.
It's more of a donation
Yes.
we provide. And the other thing is we have a yoga teacher that provides us with a yoga program during the day for our members. And then he runs a public one in the evening. And again, depends on how many people he brings in as to what he pays. So we don't always, we use it as a bargaining chip more than income.
I just wonder with this live streaming now, maybe more people are going to be aware that there is another space available and
Yeah.
you may become inundated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackno?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mika and Lynn, I know you're great volunteers in the community. The stats they speak for themselves. I'm really astounded that you let Councillor Abdallah in there, because I don't think he's 50 years old yet. I'm not quite
My
sure.
birthday was the other day.
Was it? Okay, well, we're not going to mention your age. A couple questions on the programming. The computer lessons, I mean, it's such a changing world with streaming, et cetera. How did you come to the realization that seniors were looking for that type of a program? Do you ask, what would you like to do? How do you come about that?
Well, first of all, we had a gentleman that was providing programming, and we did ask people what they wanted. He got ill. That's all. That happens to a lot of us. And we're just not as available anymore. So one of the girls that actually retired from the library is volunteering her time. And what she's doing is a one-on-one. On Wednesday morning, if she fills the 3 slots Wednesday morning, she's willing to stay Wednesday afternoon. So people can bring their problems. They can bring their laptop, they can bring their iPad or whatever, and she will help them through it. So it's more of an individual,
Very good.
one-on-one.
2 little wee things. The seminars, how was interest in the seminars, how did that come about? Was it from, were people looking for space? Were you out there soliciting people to book your place? How did that come about?
A little bit of both, I think, Ed. The reality is, I don't know if you remember back to 2008, 2009, we had our...
I can remember that vaguely. Yes.
Can you vaguely remember that? We had an Horizon grant, and that was part of where we started, again, offering seminars, because and part of the money that we planned was to ensure seminars. And we've really continued, and actually those are some of the things since the strategic partner that we've partnered with the city on, because they had to spend some of their Horizon grant that they hadn't spent.
Also, your fee. How do you what is the fee for a year? Does it cover all of your programs, or can people pick and choose? Is there a carte blanche where you say, if you buy this, that covers everything? How does it work?
No, we don't have anything like that. Our membership is $20, okay, and that's to be a member. Any activity that you come to, if you come to the Fitness 50 Plus, it's a $1 activity. You have volunteer people running it, then it's your $1 activity fee. Well, you know yourself, you did Tai Chi.
Very good, thank you. Thanks.
I'm going to make a comment from the question from the chair. In regards to the programs, I know you work close with the Recreation Department, and sometimes we fund a program or an activity through you because you have the members. Is there a charge for those activities? So if we've paid for it, the city, and we're saying, okay, you guys host it, do you charge additional for those programs?
It depends, right?
Yeah,
It depends on what it
depends
is.
what it is, and whether it's completely covered or not. One
Yes.
of the things I know, like the Ice Cream Social, they had partnered with us the last 2 years, and I think they charged $2 for that, because we did get some additional things like a DJ.
Okay,
and
okay.
that
So
kind
if
of
you
thing.
don't have any additional expenses yourself, generally, it's free?
Yeah, it's
Okay, that really was my only question.
Most of our seminars and education is free unless they charge us a fee to put the,
And then you
know,
have to
put it
pass
on.
along.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that,
Or $1, sorry,
Yeah.
$1 activity fee.
it's interesting, 24% from Laurentian Valley, 50-some% from the city, but over 20% is from other communities.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting,
Yes,
and it's a
yes.
great attribute for the
Yeah.
city to be drawing these seniors in.
That's right.
You know, they
Yeah.
go shopping, they have lunch, and et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
So thank you for contributing to not just the lifestyle and the well-being, but the economic
Mm-hmm.
factor. So, Councillor Abdallah, one more comment?
I just had a quick question. The arts and crafts are interesting. If anybody's listening or watching at a later date, how do they, any artist or craftsperson, if they want to put a course together, proposal, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they come and see us.
Right.
Like, we usually end up going to see them because somebody's left a card or whatever, or we're looking. Like right now, we're trying out some new art programs because the lady that had been offering it for a while, our oil, well, she's had a lot of problems with the flooding last year. She lives on the Quebec side, and during the winter, she often can't get out. So the reality is, a lot of the times we were left without somebody there because she couldn't come in. So this year we did chat, and we decided that maybe during that period she shouldn't be there, and then if she wants to come back later in the spring.
So you're always open to adding new programming?
Oh, definitely. Our only problem is, if we can get the person, is to make sure that we have the space to do it.
Right, okay, that's great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation. If
Thank you
there's
for
no other
listening.
questions, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Phenomenal, the numbers. Great.
So we have another presentation from the Climate Justice Climatique Pembroke. Welcome. I'll ask you both to sit and then identify yourselves and where you live. Perfect. We'll wait till Sean's. So we'll watch your presentation and then I'll open it up to questions and comments. Perfect.
Okay, so thank you everybody for having us here today and really tackling this issue head on. I'm Dorian Pierce, this is Maxine Jeffrey, and we're here to present on behalf of Climate Justice Pembroke. We hope you find our presentation informative. So started just last year, Climate Justice Pembroke is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit, volunteer-run organization advocating for and promoting environmental protection initiatives. Our organization was started, we were inspired by youth activists all around the world who are working tirelessly to make a difference in their communities. We understand as an organization that climate change is a threat, but we also know that it is a great opportunity. Our organization was created, of course, to keep government and politicians accountable on environmental issues, but we're also here to partner with governments and to work towards our shared goals of a healthy, clean, and safe community. So one big reason that brings us here today is the IPCC report. So according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, whose SR 15 2018 report has the consensus of almost 100% of the world's scientists, if we have just a 67% chance of limiting global average temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we have about 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit in our carbon budget as of 2018. Of course, we have much less now because we emit at about 40 gigatons per year of CO2. With current emission levels, that budget is expected to be gone in just 8 years. Why is it so important to stay below 1.5 degrees? As you know, right now, we're already seeing some effects at 1 degree, such as the flooding that we see in the winter. Maxine will talk a little bit more about that later on. And here's just a few examples. At 1.5, 14% of the Earth's populations will be exposed to severe heat waves every 5 years, according to the IPCC. At 2 degrees, that number jumps actually up to 37%. So the reason behind that is because climate change doesn't happen in a linear way. It actually, there are certain tipping points that will be hit where it will accelerate it. And another example, it would be with 2 degrees, our area will see a drastic increase in heavy rain, snowfall, causing additional flooding, and limiting warming to 1.5 degrees might allow us to retain approximately similar precipitation levels as compared to what we currently experience. So where are we now? Right now, we've already surpassed 1 degree of warming, And since developing our presentation, a new report has come out saying that we're actually now closer to 1.1. Our current policies right now is looking to take us between 2.3 and 4.1 degrees of global average temperature rise by 2100. And even with the most optimistic of policies that we currently have, that warming is expected to be between 2.2 and 3.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. So essentially, this slide really tells the story in itself, where how we need to really raise our ambition and work on combating these issues.
So in our area, we've seen more severe weather in the last few years. We've seen extreme weather events, whether it be microbursts, flooding, extreme heat, heavy rainfall, and ice storms. The weather events are causing dramatic damage, and it's costing the municipality and the city large sums of money to help with repair efforts. Taking steps to prevent these weather events or to prepare ahead of time could save the city large sums of money while preventing extreme spending on emergency funding in the future. With microbursts and severe storms, in September 2018, there were multiple severe storms less than an hour from our area, including tornadoes that destroyed homes and lives. We had planned to see them here. So with the way weather is fluctuating and we see storms increasing, it's not hard to predict that we will see this in the future if we don't take steps to help reduce our carbon footprint in the area. Our area has become prone to microbursts. Each one has become more severe than the last. I remember it was just a couple years ago we were debating whether one was actually a tornado or not, and we had to go to Environment Canada and go, are we sure? So it's very scary. The storms are knocking out power for prolonged periods of time, causing many health issues for those who depend on electricity, those with CPAP machines, those with wheelchairs who need power, those who rely on pumps and stuff. We're seeing a lot of issues with power being knocked out in the area, and the severe weather is directly causing that. Extreme heat we've seen in the past year. We saw just this summer, extreme heat can cause dehydration, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and even death. In July 2019, the city of Pembroke, you guys, had to open cooling centers in the area to help those without air conditioning. According to Health Canada, protection from the heat includes drinking plenty of fluids, wearing light-colored clothes, hat outdoors, indoors, having access to air conditioning, which this area has a lot of low-income people, and even our senior homes are not equipped with air conditioning, as air conditioning is costing a lot of money. So a lot of people are trying to block the sun, closing curtains or blinds during the day, cooling down in the shades. Swimming facilities are great, or cooling off in the shower are great ways to help. However, these are only going to last so long, and as the heat gets worse, it's scary. At a local level, we know we cannot change heat waves, but there are steps we can take to help lessen the severity of these events for our local residents. And we all remember the flooding. This picture you'll notice is Doran Street just this past spring. I was in that picture somewhere. So heavy rain and snowfall are direct causes of flooding. We saw this report put out by Environmental Canada. We know that this was not human caused. It was a direct result of climate change. In 2019, Pembroke experienced record-breaking flooding. It was disastrous in the area. In 2017, residents experienced what was called the flood of the century. And in 2019, levels were 30 centimeters higher in some places. On a plus side, we proved that the residents of Pembroke will work together to prevent damages. The military came to help with sandbagging, as well as many civilian volunteers. Still, local houses and businesses were destroyed. Anecdotally, from residents and real estate agents, recently new homeowners are incurring difficulties getting insurance in areas that have been flooded. Those seeking to renew are increasingly being asked to pay for expensive groundwater flood coverage. This all drives up the cost of homeownership in our area. And we just want to take a moment to acknowledge the city of Pembroke. You're already taking some steps in the right direction. Solar panels have been added to the downtown core. We're so thankful for that. You guys have been retrofitting city buildings to reduce drafts and other renewable energy inputs. These save on heating and cooling emissions as well as costs. And hybrid electric car stations, that we do have one. I have heard that there are more in the works. They help reduce emissions in local traffic hotspots. So let's go further. Let's set an example for the rest of the valley. Pembroke is the heart of the Ottawa Valley. We need to have a healthy heart to live our lives fully. We, the CJCP, request Pembroke City Council to form a youth-led committee mandated to help lead discussion on how we can make our home a healthy heart in environmental initiatives. We feel a youth-led group is important so that we can make and keep policies relevant and get youth more involved in community efforts. Youth is defined as persons under 35 years of age. This committee would bring forth an action plan containing adaptation and mitigation measures to help all our residents cope with current and upcoming environmental challenges. Adaptation is about moderating harm. Mitigation involves reducing the cause of the harm.
And we're now going to move to questions, but before we do that, I just wanted to invite Ann Paul to join us. Ann. And Anne has been involved as a community volunteer with the Council of Canadians during the past decade and is a researcher, organizer, and activist on environmental issues. She is one of our advisors and actually joined our group last year with us after seeing one of our rallies that we held online in the local media.
Thanks for inviting me up. They really don't need me here. I'm just back up, and tell them that you're doing great, okay? I'm the deputy grandmother.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up to questions. Personally, from the chairs, before we open it up, I want to thank you. I'm so impressed. And, you are our future. And it's nice to see young people engaged, in improving our world. And so I'll open it up to Councillor Reevy.
Thank you. What a wonderful presentation. You are both amazing and with your passion for the issue. It's like you say, a worldwide issue. I am in full support of establishing a youth-led committee. That sounds like moving in the right direction as far as our community is concerned, so that has my full support. For sure.
Just to make a comment again, referring back to the conference we were at, all the municipalities in Ontario belong to what's called AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. Every year they set up a strategic plan, and this is the first year where they've put in climate change and the environment as one of their strategic priorities. I think they picked 5, and basically it covers everything you had up here, that all of a sudden people are realizing that this is a real issue. So I was pleased to see that all the municipalities were going to become involved. But thank you for the presentation.
Councillor Jackno.
Madam Chair, I'd like to thank Dorian, Maxime, and backup, of course. Nice to see young people interested in the community. Not only the community as such here, but the community globally. 100 years ago, according to the Eganville Leader, it was 51 degrees below zero in the Eganville area, which is, phenomenal. So weather perhaps can be cyclical, but I agree with you. Too many changes are taking place that we haven't seen for a long time. And they don't seem to be cyclical. They seem to be occurring on a regular basis. My question to you is, I think, in order for us all to work together, it's got to be a global thing. Like, what do you do with, China and the Soviet Union, who are not part and parcel of coming to the table to support global initiatives that will help the planet? I heard today, however, that China is banning all plastic bags within their country within the next year. There'll be no plastic bags. That makes an economic impact as well on the world, because a lot of nations were shipping their plastic bags to China for recycling. That won't happen now, so we're going to have to be better stewards of our land. So how do you react to the other countries? I mean, we're doing our bit in Canada, we're trying to do it, and these guys are sitting there saying, we're not going to do that. What is the impact on the world?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, our group itself is focused very locally, but there are thousands upon thousands of groups just like us working to make it better all over the world. And you see they make headlines on their activism, and they're all youth-led. And so we're hoping that if enough of us globally can make a difference locally, it'll have a worldwide effect.
Youth matters, and you'll do it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, like everyone else has said, thank you for your presentation this evening. In addition to if I can point this out in terms of the operations department, in addition to the items that you've raised in terms of the city of Pembroke, I think that we should be proud of ourselves in terms of from an operational point of view, and I know that each department does different things, but for instance, if this initiative goes through with the electric car charging stations, there's discussions at the table in terms of the operations department in terms of certain vehicles, obviously not our dump trucks and so forth, but other vehicles like the manager's vehicle, having electric vehicles and setting an example. Additionally, in terms of, and I'll put it underneath operations, but when we built the police station, when we built the fire hall, we always had that as a mindset that we're going to build it in a manner that recognizes the environment and so forth. So certainly the city of Pembroke, I think, has made numerous efforts to try and see our way to ensuring that we keep an eye in terms of, or in mind to the environment. But if I can make this suggestion to committee, perhaps instead of making a jump this way or that way, perhaps what the direction should be rather is to get a staff report from Mr. Lapierre that looks at our organization as a whole and how it fits in terms of where we want to go with this issue of climate change.
Thank you. If I could make, Councillor Abdallah?
So, thank you. Thank you for coming. Excellent presentation. We talked about the book by Tim Flannery that I showed you at the beginning of the meeting. 2005, Australian scientists knew that this was coming. In fact, in the 70s, scientists knew that we'd be in trouble if we didn't lower carbon footprint. Echoing what the Deputy Mayor was saying, the aquatic complex that we hope to get our grant for and build is going to be environmentally friendly and up to date with trailblazing energy efficiency. Today I was on Infrastructure Canada website, and I read about all these cities getting electric bus grants from the province and the federal government. So I emailed the mayor. There's another intake coming up this year. So hopefully we could partner with Laurentian Valley and get my vision is we have some kind of a transportation system, green energy with electric buses, but it can only happen if we have another municipality and funds from the federal government. We can't do it on our own. So those are some of the things we can do to lower the footprint, and I fully support Pembroke being declared a climate emergency. City, along with over 400 other municipalities across Canada, and integrating a climate action plan into everything we do with the city. So fully support that.
If I could speak from the chair. Again, I commend you, and yes, we're a small municipality, and your group will be a small group within the municipality. But I really think that if you throw one stone into the creek and it has a ripple effect, that things can happen. And that we as a municipality can be leaders and we can show ethical decisions and responsibilities to other municipalities, and that too will ripple. So I support your recommendation. I think it's great that it's youth-led because maybe you can attract other youth. And if everyone starts to adopt this frame of mind, the leaders of tomorrow will all have that frame of mind because you are, let's say, like our future. I do agree with the recommendation the deputy mayor had, though, is that you work with the CAO and sort of come up with where does this fit in the organization? Could they be a subcommittee advisory to us? I would have offered to sit on it, but I'm a little over 35, so a little old. But, you know, we can work with you, so.
Our idea is that it is led by youth, so that
That's right.
anyone can sit in
Right.
and be members, but that the person chairing it would be a youth.
Would be a youth, okay. So I agree, and so again, thank you, thank you. I think that there's people out there who deny that this is happening to our planet, but if you look at Australia and you look at these places that are being affected, and now it's in our backyard, you're right, so thank you very much. So do we need a motion, or is this direction good enough? I think we all sort of agree that they work with the CAO? Perfect. Okay, so you can be in communication with
Thank you.
Jerry and,
I know it's, you guys have this presentation, but we did include all of our sources, just for the people live streaming if they wanted to check that out and take a screenshot and look up
thank you,
what we were doing.
thank you.
Thank
And can I ask, are you both from Pembroke or the area?
I've lived here long enough. I was brought here through my father being in the military as a child, and I've been here ever since, so long
And-
over 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been here forever.
Well, I know some Pierces, I know some Pierces from the West End, so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening.
Yep.
So next we have a sign request for 2 International Drive with Kenny Craft Spirits.
Okay, thanks.
Please identify yourself, please.
Thank you very much. My name's Andrew Kenny. I'm the founder and owner of O'Kenny Craft Spirits. I'd like to acknowledge the, sorry?
Sorry, go ahead, sorry.
I'd like to acknowledge the last 2 groups. They're very organized and have very good presentation. Mine's more fluid, we'll say. So,
Well, you're in that fluid business.
Yes.
though.
exactly. So I'd also really appreciate that I'm at the first meeting with live streaming. A little nervous about that, but I guess we all are.
Oh, it'll be fun.
So I'll just give you a background. The reason that I started the distillery is because I found out that the crops, the farmers in the area were not getting good prices for their crops. You'll probably notice when you drive down the highways, you'll see more and more fields that aren't being used, or they're being used inefficiently, and they may have bales of hay in them, and they're sitting there, and the second cut is growing up around them. So we've got this awesome land that we're kind of not using the way it should be, as well as it should be. So I want to help the farmers, give them another market to sell their crops. And believe it or not, spirits are all made from crops made locally right here in Renfrew County. The best quality malt barley ever produced in Ontario was produced last year in Cobden. So that was a big push for me to do this. The positives about working with the city of Pembroke is, first of all, they were very accommodating. Heather Salavari, with open arms, showed me properties all over the place, and that's the reason I'm here. That's why I bought a property in Pembroke. And the involvement from the councillors, I think most of you are my friends on Facebook, I believe. I think. And some of you have purchased my product, and many of you have visited me. That's great. The friendliness of the staff, when I first came in, it was great. Those are all positives. And they're eager to offer assistance. So the reason I'm here is because I think there was a miscommunication on my first attempt my first proposal. I believe that I had an agreement with the city when I purchased the property, that with the large sign that's in front of the property. I believed I had an agreement, so when I made a proposal, I was basically asking for your involvement in it. I thought there was an agreement already, so I think I may have worded everything like I was asking. So I'm just going to read from the letter I sent to council, and all council has. So I believe that there was some important factors that may have been overlooked by or not presented by council to council for my original proposal. I believe that my proposal was simply following up on an assurance given to me by Heather Salavara before I purchased the property. Heather Salavara represented the city when she showed me the property in December of 2018. She assured me that if I purchased the property, I would have full use of the sign that was situated directly in front of my property on the road allowance. Or the city would remove the current sign and allow me to put up my own sign. The back of the sign is actually pretty much on the property line. My mother and uncle were also present, showing support. They participated in the discussion about the sign. They both provided letters recalling what they heard Heather Salavara say about the sign. And I can present these. I've got them with me if you'd like to see them. The most common question I get from potential customers is, I see your sign when I drive by the Welcome Center. Where are you located? So this is a problem right from the beginning. They don't realize I'm actually located there, that I purchased the property. The Welcome Center is a well-known landmark in Pembroke because of its location and attractive design. I was told by one person it's the sexiest building in Pembroke. So I added that to this. Our target market is residents of Renfrew County, and in particular, Pembroke residents. And very few local residents find it necessary to visit their own local Welcome Center. It is a building that almost all locals know and recognize, but few have ever visited. It is extremely difficult to attract local customers to turn off Paul Martin Drive to visit a building that has never been used to serve the local general public. It is much more difficult than one would expect with such a prominent location. The CDFC, Community Development Future Corporation, had full use of the sign when they were leasing the building up to the fall of 2014. I remember this, and Google Street View images confirm this from the 2012 photo that I have presented in our package, which shows that only the CDFC was advertised on this sign. So the CDFC left the building in the fall of 2014, and the sign was changed after this. And you can see also what it was changed to. It currently directs visitors to go to the 2 hotels for visitor information and displays the hotel sign at the bottom. Many people don't understand this sign because they glance at it quickly to only read the large print and see the massive question mark. Even before we had started renovations, we had visitors coming in and asking for maps or information. My plumbers handed out 3 maps in a single day while they worked. On one day recently, and this was written quite a while ago, so this was in probably September, maybe August, 26 visitors on a single day, they misidentified our building as the Welcome Center. There was no sign remaining on our property at that time that identified us as the Welcome Center. Their only indication that there were visitor information was the large sign in front of the property. I graciously greeted the people and gave out maps allowing them to use the bathroom and told them about local attractions. One lady commented that she was impressed that our Welcome Center had a bar. I didn't know what to say to that. Without making an obvious change to this sign, most local people that drive by regularly will not notice any change in the use of the building. It has been the Welcome Center for over 20 years. And the large sign that I rented temporarily does not make it clear that O'Kenny Craft Spirits is located at 2 International Drive. The huge permanent sign out in front of our property that says visitor information is very difficult to compete with and confuses both visitors and locals. The TransCanada Corporate Park is a valuable asset that I would be happy to support. I can assure you that a small banner identifying TransCanada Park installed on the sign in 2015 played no part in attracting me to this park. The sign for the park on Highway 17 has more potential to attract business. This is my opinion. But the trees have grown up in front of this building and it's no longer visible from Highway 17. If prospective buyers stop in and ask me about my experience with purchasing property in the park, I hope I can recall some positives to encourage them to purchase property. The CFDC was a tenant, and the city gave them the full use of the sign in front of their leased property. We were told that if we purchased the property, we would be allowed full use of this same sign as the owners of the property. Or if we chose, the city could remove the sign and allow us to erect our own business sign. I believe this was a sincere assurance from the city of Pembroke, and that we can come to an agreement that will address any concerns that council has. We are proposing that O'Kenny Craft Spirits be given exclusive use of the sign. We would create an attractive sign with a stone base and landscaping that the city would be very proud to have in front of O'Kenny Spirits of Pembroke.
Thank you. Should we open up to questions, or do you have a supplementary report?
Well, the
since
committee does have my report in your package.
From the last meeting.
And certainly,
and
yes,
this.
staff's interest is not entering into a debate here.
No.
But I can advise that I have communicated with the Economic Development Officer, whose recollection does differ slightly from what has been proposed to committee thus far. There certainly was discussion about that sign, but at no time I'm advised that assurances or guarantees or anything was provided with respect to taking over the sign, which is not located on the property that was sold, but on city property which is adjacent to it and is approximately 60 or so feet at least from the entrance to this property, from the driveway to it.
Okay, so, thank you for clarifying that. I will have comments, but as the chair, I will wait till the other comments are over, sir.
Yes, I failed to also advise, this is a matter of reconsideration.
Okay,
So the request is to reconsider the direction that was given by committee on October the 1st, whereby committee had decided to decline the proposal at that time to take over the sign. So according to council's procedural bylaw, for a motion to reconsider, you're required to have 2/3 of a vote of those members present so that reconsideration can take place. So based on the numbers here, you would require a vote of 4 members to consider reconsideration in order for it to move forward.
okay. And at that time, we would reconsider a new agreement or the previous?
Yeah. The way that it works is that
Yeah.
if there is a successful motion to reconsider that's voted on by 4 members here this evening, then the effect is that the original decision of October the 1st is struck as if it never did happen, and then committee can reconsider the
Reinvestigate.
matter and make whatever decision it wants.
Okay, so Councillor Abdallah,
So I'll make a motion to reconsider the decision of October 1st, 2019.
so it's moved by Councillor Abdallah, seconded by Councillor Reevy. Discussion. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kenny, now that you're live streaming, you should have lots of business. Just come to your door, they'll know where you are.
I'm very glad I showed up on tonight. It was a good night
I'm
to
going
show up.
to just ask a question. I think the city's been fairly fair with you in the dealings with the property, et cetera. I think we've been more than accommodating to get you here, and we appreciate what you're doing. My question to you, or perhaps to Mr. Lapierre, is when we were formalizing the deal for the purchase, was there any reference to the signing within that purchase to agreement of purchase? Was there any mention of the sign, or we would be, handing the sign over to you, or that there was some consideration of the sign? I mean, that should be in a purchase agreement, but even though it's sitting on our property, if there was an intent to have that sign there, then something should be referred to legally, would it not?
Go ahead.
I sent an email out earlier. I'm not sure if you had received it. It explained what led up to the announcement that my last proposal was declined. I told Mr. Lapierre that what had happened and the assurance that I was given verbally when I was about to buy the property. And the comment he made was, "You should have gotten that in writing." And I agree, I should have gotten it in writing. So what I'm asking is for council to make a decision for something that was told to me verbally, but it was never written in the agreement. It was something that I should have
Okay.
recalled and had written down.
If I may, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just as a follow-up. So the sign, as it stands now, sits on an adjacent piece of property, not on your property, correct?
Yeah, I could show you the map actually exactly where it shows.
No, I know where it is. I've been out there. I've spoken with you, had a tour of your building, which I was
So
very
it
impressed with.
may be partially on my property. It's difficult to tell. I've gotten two different views. One shows that one of the parts of it may be on my property. This one right here, which I was actually given to by one of your staff members with an indication of where I should put my sign, which is behind the current sign. It shows the property, and I think you'd have to make a judgment call that would be probably about 1 foot in front of the property line.
Well, I would need a professional opinion before we vote on anything, knowing, what we're giving away or what we propose to give away, or to work with Mr. Kenny to help promote his building. But until I know where, the property line is, et cetera, and what the motion to reconsider is all about, I'm a little confused.
Any further comments before we call the question? Mayor?
Well, one of the comments I have, I'm against looking at it again. We've made a decision. When I was coming into town today after being in Toronto, where your sign is positioned is great, the one that you have next to this. But this particular park is so important for the city from an economic development point of view that I think the sign that we have there, and I gather it is on our property, I think it's important that it stay, as it is. I guess the only other comment I can make is that we have a CIP program, to help people such as yourself, and I'm sure Signage could be involved, where it be a program as far as the city is concerned that may, now I don't want to make a promise here, may be able to help with the putting up of a new sign, the type that you'd like to see with your business. But I would not like to see this disappear from where it is. Thank you, Andrew.
Councillor Reeby?
Just two comments, really, and I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know how the Transcan sign is situated, or what's holding it to the ground. So, is it possible to move it slightly so that it doesn't appear to be the sign from Mr. Kenny's business? And the secondly would be for you to put up a very nice big sign that is going to show off your business in addition to having this. Those are my only two comments.
Councillor Abdallah?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So Andrew, you're a great marketer, by the way, all your marketing on Facebook. That's incredible. So I went to see you and we looked at the sign. So you put a sign up in the meantime. O'Kenny's, it's on your building? So
No.
there's a sign up in front of your building, no?
There's one slightly in front of my building.
Yeah, and you can see that.
And then there's a temporary one.
Right, you can see that one. but can't you put a sign behind this one on an angle that, you know, nice big sign as the funds for the city community improvement program possibly, that would visualize your building? Because that sign is on city property and it advertises the Transcan Park. So would you be able to put a sign, because you have a big lot there, and you could put a sign behind it, because when I drive by there every day, I see your new sign behind this triangular sign that the city have. So could that be something you could consider?
That's
think-
something that I could consider, because I'm actually here to work with you to come up with a
Right.
creative solution.
Mhm.
Putting a sign behind a large sign that says visitor information, it has to compete with that sign. And I have some experience with billboards, with actually purchasing billboard space and this. So I know a little bit about it with marketing. And my sign does not get it does not attract people, because, as I say, people, the number one comment is, I see your sign at the visitor center. Where are you located? They are very confused. People are confused, both people coming into the area that aren't from the area, visitors, and locals. They are confused about the sign. And I do not believe putting a sign behind that sign would be helpful at all.
Okay, so,
Gonna add on.
so as the chair,
Add on.
if we reconsider, we can discuss all of this. So I'm going to make one comment, and then we will call the vote. It's unfortunate that you were maybe either misinterpreting something, but staff has no authority to say that you will get this. As a counselor, I often, if someone asks me about property variance or, you know, sectioning off a piece of their property, I will often say, oh yeah, you can do that. But you have to go through the proper channels. So I'm just saying, you know, and someone could easily come back and if they got turned down, well, Councillor Lafreniere said that I could do this. Well, Councillor Lafreniere said, you probably could. Anyway, I really apologize if there was any kind of a, but my opinion on this is that it is our sign, and I know your original proposal to us talked about us covering some expenses. Well, from a city standpoint, I wouldn't support us going through any expense to change the sign. However, I may be open to reinvestigating maybe, is there a better spot for that sign, even for the city? Because it is in front of another building now, and it does kind of lead to that misperception that your building is actually the Welcome Center. So I agree with you there. However, would you, and the vote hasn't taken place, but I would be interested if there was no expense to the city to move the sign or change the sign in any way. I would be open to relocating it slightly to improve the site triangle to your property, but that would be it. Because I don't think we should bear any expense for something that isn't broken for us entirely. So that being said, I am going to call the question for reconsideration where all these things could be talked at in future if needed.
Could I just say one last thing? I think you.
I think
Is it
you can,
okay?
You're the chair, man.
you can say something very brief.
Okay, so actually, it looks right now like it might be a negative answer. Actually, would it be possible to put off your vote? One thing I should say is I don't want the city to spend a dime on this. I don't want the city to spend a dime.
That
So
would
my
come up
first
in-
proposal, yes, it was actually about staffing for a different reason, but not on, yeah.
And it was money for the sign. But anyway, let's call the
Yes,
question.
but I was actually
and see where
putting
this
something out
goes.
and accepting less.
Let's call the question, and that
Okay.
could all be. So, we don't need a recorded vote on something like this, so I will call the question. All in favor of reconsidering Mr. Kenny's proposal? Against? Defeated? So. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me and listening to me.
Thank you. Okay, Ron, Options Skilled Trades Fair Request 2020.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Committee direction is required on request from the organizing committee for the 2020 Options Skilled Trades Fair for the city of Pembroke to provide the use of the Pembroke Memorial Center on Wednesday, May 13th, 2020 at no cost. So the background, the past 11 years, the city has hosted the annual Options Skilled Trades Fair at the PMC. This one day is set aside to let students have hands-on look at various skilled trades and apprentice opportunities. Schools from across Renfrew County also participate in various competitions pertaining to the skilled trades. City staff provide most of the labor required for setup and teardown of the event, which in the past required 2 days for setup and 2 days for cleanup. There is a cost to the labor component for this event, which has been funded through the O&M budget of the arena on average of $7,500 annually.
Okay, comments? Deputy Mayor.
I would move that the request be approved as made.
Motion on the floor, second by Councillor Reevy. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Approved. Fee waiver request.
Okay, again, Madam Chair, committee direction is required on a request from the organizers of the Krista Johnson Memorial Run for Change to waive the fees for Riverside Park on June 14th, 2020. The annual Krista Johnson Run for Change is scheduled in June with over 750 participants in previous years. Monies generated from the run are used for youth programming and service, as well as maintenance and enhancements of the fitness studio. All of the services are provided free for the youth of the community. The revenue loss for the event would be $255.
Councillor Reevy.
I would move that we waive the fees for the event. for the
Okay, we
Krista
have a
Johnson.
mover, and I believe Mr. Councillor Abdallah, seconder.
Yes.
Thank you. Further comments? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Approved. Okay, if there's nothing further to come, could I have a motion to adjourn? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Reevy, all in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Okay, thank you.
No. Well, I For opening this meeting of council, I'd ask those who wish, each in your own way, each in your own words, aloud or silently, join in a prayer of guidance over these proceedings.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Disclosure between your interests, and link to thereof. Okay, our minutes, approve the minutes from our council meeting held on January the 7th, 2020. By Councilor Reevy, second by Councilor Abdallah. All those in favor? Adopt the minutes of Parks and Recreation Committee meeting held on December the 17th, 2019. Moved by Councilor Lapierre, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Carried. Receiving minutes from the Pembroke Public Library Board of December the 19th, 2019. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Abdallah. All those in favor? Carried. Bylaws 2020-05, Councilor Reevy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2020-05, a bylaw to enact a zoning bylaw for the corporation of the city of Pembroke, be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Moved by Councilor Reevy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gervais, that bylaw 2020-05, a bylaw to enact a zoning bylaw for the corporation of the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Your Worship, we had the presentation, public presentation of the draft bylaw at our last council meeting. It's a draft comprehensive zoning bylaw. It meets the intent of the official plan and the provincial policy statement of 2014. So the new draft now ensures definitions and zoning requirements are contemporary. It deals with uses and concerns that have been issues with the planning department. It consolidates site-specific exceptions which are no longer required and updated the schedules A and B, which are the maps.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Bylaw 2020-06, Councilor Jeff.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Abdallah, that bylaw 2020-06, being a bylaw to license and govern certain businesses in the city of Pembroke, be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation awaiting your signature.
Moved by Councilor Jeff. Second by Councilor Abdallah, that bylaw 2020-06, a bylaw to license and govern certain businesses in the city of Pembroke be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Regular part of doing business. Thank you, Your Worship.
All those in favor? Carried. Motion. Mayor's report. The report will be fairly short. As I mentioned earlier, Councilor Reevy and myself were at Roma this past weekend, and the two items I just want to speak briefly to, and I will provide a full report for council next week, is the fact that we had a meeting with, first of all, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Infrastructure, Mr. Crawford. And what we did is we spoke about, or we had excellent report from staff that provided information on streets that we need repaired, on water and sewer. And it also gave us a chance to talk about the aquatic center, which I think was very important. And the report was well received, but like every other municipality, I think they had roughly 350 or 400 presentations, such as ourselves, from different municipalities. So that one was very worthwhile. The second one we had was with the Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Tourism and Culture, Sharif Salawat, Y was his name. Again, very helpful. When we specifically just dealt with the aquatic center with that particular member plus his staff, which I thought, again, they seemed to be very receptive and were well aware that every municipality in Ontario is going after that same funding for different recreational facilities. But they were both worthwhile. As far as the conference overall, I found it very useful, and I will be sending council report on that a little later. Notices of motion. Councillor Abdallah.
Your worship and fellow councillors, I'll be bringing forward the notice of motion, or motion at our February 4th council meeting, that the city of Pembroke declare a climate emergency and adopt a climate action plan.
Okay, thank you. So that'll be at our next meeting. Councillor updates, and this is really important, and I'm glad it's happening this evening, because what happens twice a month on Cogeco, we would see the councillors and myself and staff here. But at least tonight, it gives, I think, our community and the ratepayers an idea of what the councillors do during the year. And as far as I'm concerned, this particular council is doing an excellent job. They are attending the various meetings and they're reporting back to us, so we're getting valuable information, and everybody is participating. So I'm looking forward to hearing the reports, and we'll start with the Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to indicate this at the outset is that, and I believe I speak for everyone when I say that it's very difficult to try and encapsulate what transpired in 2019 in our allotted time slot. And so I believe I speak for everyone whenever I say if there's members of the public that have questions or what have you, that they can certainly approach the different councillors and or just simply even look at our minutes that we adopt all the time from the various different boards, and hopefully that gives a better glimpse as to what's transpiring. So having said that, if I can start with operations, to simply say that in 2019, obviously there was various significant weather events, including heavy snowfall. The main one that will stick out in everyone's mind, particularly when we received this report or this presentation earlier this evening, was the significant flooding in respect to not only the Ottawa River. We always think about the Ottawa River, but there's also then the flooding that occurred McGee Street, Murray Street, Dorn Street, Hoffman Lane, and some other areas because of the fact that we have two rivers that flows through, more than two rivers, we have three rivers that flows through Pembroke. In any event, due to the significant flooding, there was various erosion difficulties. I can say that generally speaking, Operations Department applied for various funding for a variety of different projects, including connecting links. In terms of capital works, I think that the public is noticing that this council takes seriously infrastructure, and that they are seeing a ramp up of activity in terms of our infrastructure, including Dunlop Street, Phase 2, Miller Street, Phase 1, various shave and paves, including McKay Street. There's design work and so forth that the public may not necessarily see for things such as Boundary Road, Nelson Street, River Road, and one street that they will notice is the design and ongoing construction of Victoria Street. In terms of roads and fleet, again, various rehabilitation going on in terms of road and fleet. And in addition to that, there are various shave and paves, including Everett Street, including a pedestrian walk area, due in no small part to the efforts of Councillor Frenier. I'm trying to summarize through the different things. Water and sewer, there was a number of section repairs, 33 water leaks in the past year, a variety of locates that were conducted. Asset management, we often talk about asset management, and I can indicate that is being looked upon seriously. There's various certificates that have been obtained by the manager of operations as well as the capital works supervisor. There is a draft asset management plan that's a little bit more workable, and they continue to work hard in terms of asset management because we know that our funding depends upon it, in addition to making it feasible to run our great city. Pollution control plant, we as a council have decided upon cleaning and rehabilitating each of the digesters, and that's going to be an ongoing project. There's 3 of them. And the water purification plant, we know that for the 10th consecutive year, there has been 0 adverse water quality incidents. And just before I leave operations, just simply to do a shout out to our operations department, 2 significant snow events over 2 weekends, and they've done a terrific job at that. In terms of the library, just to simply say that the library report is out, and as I indicated at the previous meeting, that Ms. Chantal Leach provided a presentation. This just encapsulates it and puts it in booklet form for you. Needless to say that the library is being well used by the various patrons, and that over 86,000 people visiting the Pembroke Public Library in 2019, and over 111,000 items that were checked out. So if I can provide that to Mr. Lapierre, if I can provide the operations full report to Mr. Lapierre in case anyone has any particular questions. To touch on Ottawa River Energy Solutions, I can indicate that had another great year supporting the municipal stakeholders and shareholders. ORES continues to offer services in fiber, hot water tanks, recoverable work, including assisting projects like the Victoria Street project that is ongoing. I can indicate that solar revenue remains constant, and something to take away is that ORES has provided dividends and interest to Pembroke, being the majority shareholder, since its inception of over $677,000. That's $677,000 that we didn't have to raise by way of taxation, that came because we own Ottawa River Energy Solutions, and it is in the business of not only helping the shareholders, but at the same time making money. One initiative that we heard about, and we're going to hear a lot more of shortly, is that the grant application went in due in no small part to the operation and to the partnership with the City of Pembroke for electric charging stations. So I'm ecstatic about that, and we'll see how that unfolds. If I can touch on the Pembroke Police Services Board, again, the board continues to regularly fulfill its mandate in providing oversight, ensuring adequate and effective policing. We continue to look at statistical information provided by the inspector. The board is now undertaken to perform and prepare a community safety and wellness plan. We have now, as we know, hired Mr. Finnegan as the consultant. The board continues to look at various initiatives, including the property identification program that your worship was there 2 Wednesdays ago, together with Councillor Reevy to kick it off. There's going to be a report coming forward on the needle drop boxes. Phenomenally successful project, but a full report's going to come forward. I'm not even going to try and do that here. As well, the inspector, as part of his yearly annual presentation of statistics and so forth, he's going to come forward with a full annual report. It's a matter of coordinating that between himself and Mr. Lapierre on our behalf. Last but not least, with the absence of Councillor Plummer, I was asked to touch upon 2019 emergency management, from sort of a flavor from the operational point of view, if I can say it that way. So as we know, and I've just touched upon it on the operational point of view, 2 different floods, Indian River, Ottawa River, in April and May of 2019, surpassing all previous levels. State of emergency declared by His Worship on May 9th, 2019. A variety of different actions were instituted, and this is going to go to Mr. Lapierre, and if anyone is trying to remember what took place or what happened, but certainly there's a whole slew of different items that kicked in. I know that when I read different individuals in Facebook world or wherever else, and they're wondering what happens in these events, certainly they can touch base, and certainly the City of Pembroke, through this emergency management, is geared up, knows what to do, and certain activities come to be just because they rehearse this, they plan these events so that it's well organized. Needless to say, that ding was to indicate 5 minutes is up. But needless to say, a lot of different things came to be, and again, that presentation earlier this evening, talking about the military being engaged, talking about the residents coming to the step. I know Councillor Giacono, coming forward, filling bags and so forth. That's what that report is about. I understand that an emergency follow-up exercise was held July 16, 2019 to evaluate how the operation went, the protocols, staffing levels, make sure that everything was ran smoothly. I understand that there was a further training on March 20th, 2019, and it engaged All River Power, Red Cross, there was the fire marshals and so forth. Last but not least, simply to say this, that Ms. Sorio wishes to echo that the annual essential level program requirements have been met for the emergency management of Ontario as of November 18, 2019, so we are compliant, we're good.
Thank you. I'll ask Councillor Lafreniere. Could you
Yes. Thought we're going that way.
going this way?
Yeah. Great. I'll have a few reports. How much time did you say we had? Couple hours? Okay, five hours? Okay, good. So I sit on many committees. I'll just touch briefly. Councillor Plummer was going to be bringing in the Ottawa River Power Corporation report, but in his absence, I'll just do a very brief, I mean, we're all still there working on the best behalf of the ratepayer and generating some revenue to offset our tax base. This year, one of the highlights was we undertook construction of a new MS8 substation in Almont, which is going to increase revenue for everyone. You may say, why are we spending money building it there? Well, the more power that's generated, we all benefit. And they were really in need because they're undergoing a large expansion residentially in that community. So the existing substation was just not cutting it anymore. So we also had the retirement of our president and CEO, Jane Donnelly. Her replacement is Justin Allen, who's been with us for quite some years and has proven he is quite proficient in that area, and he's doing a great job. I don't know, Councillor Plummer may have another report to bring forward, so I imagine he will be submitting that separately. As the chair of Parks and Recreation, I want to say hats off to the staff and everyone who's been a part of that. It's been a busy year, and I'll just go through the highlights of events this year. And this is other than our regular programming, the hockey, the swimming, and regular things that we offer. We had the Jim Sloan Memorial Ball Hockey Tournament, which was a first of its kind and a success. The Pembroke Comedy Jam was a first-time event as well, and it was deemed a success with very little revenue lost because of the attendance of 750 and other sponsorships that came in. Trivia at the PMC, the Monster Mash Skate Jam, the Merry Little Christmas Festival. It was a first-time event also, and there's already discussions for next year and how we can improve and try to group it into one area in the downtown core rather than having it spread out, but the PVIA will be working with us on that one. The Flood Appreciation Barbecue. I mean, we know what we faced in the spring, and we had a wonderful barbecue to recognize the volunteers that came out and helped us clean up. Community Sup Day, we have partnered with All Yoga to host a 2-day stand-up paddling board session down at Riverside. Phoenix Center Movie Night, Pembroke Pride Festival, the Snow Sculpture Contest, Chair Yoga. Yoga is becoming a big thing. We also continue to offer yoga in the park this summer every Wednesday night. Snapchat Scavenger Hunt, and pickleball, another increasingly popular sport that a lot of people are taking on. Returning events coming up this year will be obviously the Canada Day Snow Spree coming soon, the Upper Ottawa Valley River Race, the ones that were returning this year, Santa Claus Parade, Downtown Pembroke Patio Party and Shop Hop, Relay for Life, the Jason Blaine Charity Concert, and Yoga in the Park, as I said, and Waterfront Live. So, Recreation Department, all of that with very few staff. So I think we're getting a really good value for our dollar in the Recreation Department. The Health Committee. I am the mayor and I sit on the Health Committee at the County of Renfrew, and it was a busy year, as you can see by the number of pages that was provided to me through the report. And it was quite a challenging year because of all the changes that have been taking place at the provincial level. So it was like a game of cat and mouse for the first few months because we would be getting these reports on funding being pulled and then funding's restored, and it was a lot of decisions being made about health teams being formed and the restructuring of our ambulatory services. So we really have a good management team at the county level who is on top of everything, and they're really working hard to try to stay ahead of that curve and try to collaborate. I must say one thing that strikes me sitting on the Health Committee is I am so impressed by our ambulatory services. Our paramedics go above and beyond, and we set examples for other communities when it comes to going into seniors' homes or those that are vulnerable into their homes to do basic care, take their blood pressure, make sure that they have what they need, make sure they're in a good state of health. And that's reducing hospital visits. So I want everyone to know they're not just driving people to the hospital, they're doing in-home care, and they are a valued service. The Health Committee recommended the creation of a Provincial Health Services Restructuring Ad Hoc Committee, and I believe the mayor sits on that. That was established for the purposes of addressing the province of Ontario's restructuring, and they are working hard all the time trying to keep on top of all the news that comes in. I don't know if it's daily anymore, but it certainly was coming in daily at one point. The county in its entirety was really absorbed with the flooding for quite a long time in the spring, so a lot of the conversations and efforts from staff were going in that direction. Well, here's an interesting item. Health Committee representatives from family councils, foundation boards, and management staff at both homes, Marion Hill and Miramichi Lodge and Bonashire Valley home, visited Malton Village in Mississauga to see a new concept in care for patients with dementia. And it's called the butterfly approach. And I believe that we are going to be looking at adopting that in our local homes. The people that went were very impressed, and it's going to improve the lives of those that are living with dementia. Lots of other things have happened. This will be submitted, so if anyone is really interested in seeing the other things that are going on in the Health Committee level, feel free. This year, under this new council, the mayor directed that a couple of new committees be set up, and one is the Seniors Affairs Advisory, which I will let Councillor Abdallah report on because he and I both sit along with the mayor on that. There is also a Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, and we met several times over the year. We're still developing things, but it's a new committee, so we have placed dollars in the budget. And if there's anybody out there that has a great idea that they'd like to share with this advisory committee about a new event or a new activity, or maybe a demographic in our population they don't feel we are providing recreational activities to, please feel free to contact us. And that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Reevy.
Thank you, Bishop. First one I'll start out with is the Planning and Development Committee, the year-end report on planning, building, and bylaw enforcement. I have an extensive report from our city planner, which will be included with the other reports. So I'll just do basically a top-level overview. So within the planning department, there were 7 rezoning applications brought before council in the past year, and I won't tell you those. We had 13 minor variance applications and 4 severance applications. As well as being chair of this, I also sit on the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee, which does field a lot of these prior to them coming to council committee. We had 7 site plan agreements into, and they were either completed or being dealt with in 2019. We had 107 zoning bylaw compliance letters issued and 22 zoning bylaw contravention letters issued. As far as city land is concerned, the city closed and transferred ownership of a portion of Sydenham Street for the development of 4 large lots. We entered into a development agreement with the developer. We also sold land at 2 International Drive, which was the old Welcome Center, and we had Mr. Kenny here tonight to discuss something having to do with that. Subdivisions, the LaPointe subdivision off Boundary Road West, we did approve the bylaw for the red line revisions to the plan of subdivision, as well as amendments of the draft conditions. This subdivision will create 46 lots for single detached dwellings. So that's good news for us. Burcom Developments, a name that has been around this table for quite some time. They have resubmitted their servicing and stormwater management plan for final review, and this subdivision is proposing 120 lots for single detached dwellings. For the building department, 14 residential units were built or are in the process of being built. Our residential permit values, including accessory structures in 2019, was $3,932,961 and change, down from 2018 by quite a bit, and that was due to the new fire hall being included the year before. The 2019 building permits had a total value of $7,789,000 plus, and again, that was down from the 2018 year. 160 building, demolition, and sign applications were issued in 2019, and the same number as the 2018. As far as bylaw enforcement is concerned, in 2019, there were 413 occurrences reported and dealt with. Some of these were contraventions to the property standards bylaw, noise bylaw, parking bylaw, zoning bylaw, graffiti bylaw, signage bylaw, law and watering bylaw, garbage bylaw, licensing bylaw, and probably a few other bylaws. So that was up from 2018 slightly. 2,205 parking tickets were issued in 2019. This includes tickets issued at PRH. A summer student was hired for the summer months to ensure our parking bylaw was upheld. The parking authority was disbanded in 2019. All parking issues are now dealt with by the Planning and Development Committee. The parking authority reserve was and will be used for the repair of the Market Square lot in 2019 and the paving of the remainder of the Cockburn parking lot in 2020. Honk Mobile is now being used to allow users to pay for parking at the meters using their smartphones. In 2019, Council voted for a downtown parking meter pilot project that offers free 2-hour parking at the downtown meters from Monday to Saturdays from January 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2020. Of course, we'll look forward to the report following the end of this pilot project. The Bylaw Enforcement Department worked with city staff to create the business licensing bylaw and road fouling bylaw. Amendments to the parking bylaw were passed to permit a 10-minute parking zone on Albert Street, a no stopping zone on Bell Street, a no parking zone on Everett Street, and a new permit parking lot was created at the corner of Pembroke Street West and Christie Street. So again, there are further details within the report. That's good for now. As one of the biggest committees I sit on outside of council is the Board of Health for Renfrew County and District Health Unit. In addition to being a board member, I am also the chair of the stakeholder relations for the board, and I sit on the executive committee. So a lot of meetings. So I'll just give you a brief overview of some of our highlights, challenges in the past year. Councillor Frenier's already mentioned the public health modernization, which is affecting health committee in terms of paramedic services, long-term care. With us, it's the health unit. So currently in the province, there are 34 health units. It was, when it first rolled out, they were looking to take us down to 10 across the province. There are now ongoing consultations. Apparently, the province has hit the reset dial, so now we're going to a consultation process with Mr. Pine on February 4th. Big news was the renewal of the lease for Renfrew County District Health Unit Pembroke office. That came up. We are currently situated at the County Administration Building. We are no longer going to be there, and the relocation is taking place on July 1st, 2020, and we're going to downtown Pembroke at the Pembroke City Centre at 141 Lake Street. That's an exciting time for the health unit. Renfrew County District Health Unit Health Equity. So we have undertaken in being engaged with the Indigenous community. A board retreat was held in spring. Actually, it was the exact same day that we declared state of emergency due to flooding here in the city. We met with the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan, and we're in the process of developing a memorandum of understanding with them. So that's an exciting time. As far as the school immunization program in Renfrew County and District, we have a 94% vaccine coverage rate for school children in Renfrew County and District. We are ranked the 3rd highest in the province of Ontario, which is excellent. We've seen the changes to funding formulas. It hits us hard. We're going to budget meetings tomorrow. Previously, it was 75 ministry funded, 25% municipalities. That has now changed to 70-30. And of course, the flood of 2019, the emergency measures, RCDHU was included with this, and the whole cleanup process from a public health perspective. Hot topics was the annual report that came out in 2018, so it sort of had a big bearing on a lot of the work and discussion at the board in the past year. Another hot topic is the cost of eating in Renfrew County and District, and also a living wage in Renfrew County and District. Another board that I'm sitting on as vice chair is the Handy Bus, so I'll give you a couple of the stats in the past year. The Handy Bus has been serving residents of Pembroke and LV for over 30 years. They operate with 2 fully accessible buses capable of carrying 15 passengers each. They're equipped to handle up to 4 wheelchairs at a time. A fully accessible van capable of carrying 6 passengers as well as 2 wheelchairs is a part of the fleet. The Handy Bus traveled over 62,000 kilometers in 2019. The transportation that was provided is 1,936 trips to individuals in wheelchairs or scooters, 7,103 trips to ambulatory individuals. We provide transportation to all medical appointments, for example, family doctor, eye appointments, dental appointments, pre-ops, hearing appointments, etc. We provide transportation to day programming, shopping, funeral and weddings, hockey games, to name a few of the transportation services. We provide door-to-door transportation to all individuals, no matter their disability or their needs. All of our drivers are professionally trained in first aid and CPR certified, and the drivers range in years of service from 27 years to 3 years. So as chair of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, a few changes in the past year. We're now looking at site plans, reviewing it as a committee just to see if there's any outside deficiencies to accessibility. We conducted tours of the PMC and the downtown area. We had 2 of our committee members in motorized wheelchairs, so that was a really valuable experience. One of our members is also visually impaired, so we are getting a whole different perspective from him on the committee. The city's accessibility plan and policy were reviewed and revised for adoption by council. We also reviewed several other legislative changes. The federal government is now enacting an accessibility plan for the country, so that's exciting news. We reviewed the 2019 status report and recommended its approval to the Finance and Administration Committee. As well, we reviewed and approved the accessibility compliance report. All our goals were met with the exception of one, which was to tour pedestrian crosswalks. We'll be doing that in the spring of this year. And it's been added to our 2020 goals. Festival Hall Consortium, it's an easy one to say. We've had a very successful year under the direction and management of Rick Wharton. Of course, it was the Hall's 40th year anniversary, and that was celebrated with a sold-out performance by Glass Tiger, an excellent night. As chair of the Civic and Youth Awards, last year was the 3rd annual. Very successful again. We're working on the 4th annual, and the packages will be going out very soon. That's all I have tonight. Thank you very much.
Oh, excellent. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Due to the absence of Councillor Plummer tonight, I'll be bringing 2 reports in on his behalf. One is from the Treasury Department. As the Vice Chair of Finance, I'm pleased to bring these facts to you. In 2019, the Treasury Department continued to support the operations of the city by providing a wide range of services, including purchasing and vendor payments, billing and collection for both property taxes and utilities, information technology, and general financial management oversight. Some of the key highlights included: under budgeting, the 2019 budget was passed by council on February the 19th, and we're coming to that process again, Your Worship, and I'm sure the public will be invited tomorrow. It's open from 9 to 4, so if you want a real exciting day, please join us. Rates, 2019 tax rates were adopted by council on June the 4th. for financial audit. The 2018 audited consolidated financial statements were finalized on October 1st. Property tax billing. Interim and final property tax bills were issued for approximately 5,259 properties in 2019. By year end, 1,191 property tax owners had subscribed to the city's pre-authorized payment plan, whereas in 2018, there were 1,147. So there's an increase in the amount of people using the pre-authorized plan, which makes it a lot easier in bad weather. You know, they can just make sure that their taxes are coming directly. They don't have to fight with the snow or the rain. Property tax collection, 2019, property tax arrears decreased from 8% of taxes levied to approximately 6%. Under utilities billings, quarterly water, sanitary sewer bills were issued for approximately 4,897 properties in 2019. By year end, 1,413 customers had subscribed to the city's pre-authorized payment plan. And again, in 2018, there were 1,389 individuals using that service, an increase again. Under purchasing, the Treasury Purchasing Department issued and managed 6 requests for quotations, 26 requests for tenders, 18 developed in-house, and 12 requests for proposals. In addition, 765 purchase orders were issued and or administered. So obviously, just from those stats, you understand that they had a very busy year. Vendor payments, 3,315 vendor payments were processed, totaling an amount of $30,797,973. So that's a lot of money going back into the general coffers of the community. When you look at it, you know, we're hiring people to do contract work, etc., but that money's filtered back in for economic development. Under payroll in 2019, the city managed the payroll for approximately 186 employees, including full-time, part-time, fire, and library staff. This included processing over 26,000 entries to track labor activities and split costs between departmental budgets. In addition to these highlights, 2019 was marked by key staffing changes in the Treasury Department. In November, the city welcomed a new Treasurer Deputy Clerk to the team, Angela Lochte. At the end of December, Treasurer Deputy Clerk Leanne McIntyre officially retired after 14 years of dedicated service to this community. The city thanks Ms. McIntyre for years of leadership, guidance, and hard work. That ends my report from the Finance Department. From the Fire Department, in consultation with Fire Chief Herback, I wanted the public to understand that they completed their first year in the new fire building and continue to clear off any issues with the building, such as minor glitches that may occur with any new construction. All members are pleased with the building and the speed of response from the new location. During the year, our storage shed was built and work began on the ground lit sign for the front of the station. The Pembroke Fire Department continued with an extensive fire prevention education program, including displays and demonstrations, inspections and enforcements of the Ontario Fire Code. 2019 focus was on multi-unit dwellings, hotels, and industries. Under public education events, 21 fire tours took place with over 500 visitors visiting the new fire hall. 26 fire safety talks and demos took place. 1,044 inspections and consultations completed in city business and residence. There were 72 fire drills, 18 vulnerable occupancy drills and inspections performed at their lowest staffing levels. Public service radio announcements each month are geared to hazards at the time of the year. Under public relations events, the fire department participated in over 7 very busy activities, from fundraising, from Snow Spree, Kids Fishing Derby, Canada Fire Day Works, and of course, the City Hall flag replacing, which is very important. In addition to the regular training on all aspects of firefighting, major training sessions have been completed on vehicle extrication, natural gas awareness. All members completed their swim testing at the Kiwanis Pool. Their officers continued with the company officer program and fire inspection programs. The Pembroke Fire Department assisted during the city's state of emergency for the spring flooding in 2019. Again, a valuable asset to the community in helping citizens and helping to manage some of the a tremendous trauma that many people face during a flood. Pembroke Fire Department responded to 380 emergency incidents, 1 significant industrial fire, 4 significant residential structure fires. Losses were approximately $2,327,000. Staff changes included 1 retirement to captain, 3 promotions to first-class firefighter, 1 promotion to fourth-class firefighter, 1 promotion to captain, 1 promotion to acting captain, 1 career firefighter hired, 5 volunteer firefighters hired, 1 volunteer firefighter resignation, and 1 co-op student placement. Chief Herback, as the coordinator of Renfrew County Mutual Aid, attended the Ontario Fire Marshals Mutual Aid Coordinators Annual Learning Symposium. And outside of the City of Pembroke limits, the Pembroke Fire Department responded to 6 vehicle extrication calls, 5 water rescue incidents, and 1 residential structure fire. Those are Councillor Plummer's reports. I have 1 report, Your Worship, under social services, if I may, and these reports again will be submitted to Mr. Lapierre. This year, while serving with the Renfrew County Housing Authority and the Social Services, I attended a meeting last Thursday that was held in Renfrew, and it was the grand opening of their new facility. You were also there, Your Worship, to bring greetings on behalf of the City of Pembroke. The centre itself has undergone about 7,500 square feet of renovation work recently. Now they're formally open to accommodate all their clients, etc. They're located at 450 O'Brien Street in Renfrew. The Renfrew area, this particular project will allow the Renfrew area residents to use those particular facilities that deal with human service integration processes. Now they're all under 1 roof. So for example, childcare, early years, Ontario Works, Renfrew County Housing Corporation projects are now in this 1 building. There was a tour of the facility, and I believe there were probably in excess of 100 people that attended to take a look at the structure itself. And I believe the building was purchased for $1. It was the old Canadian Tire building and retrofitted. It's just, it's a wonderful spot, and it's going to serve their purpose. Also in that building, we have Enterprise Renfrew County and a service base for the paramedics. As we're all aware, Renfrew County is the size of some small countries, so you know the services that the county brings to all the smaller municipalities. We are a partner that deal with the county. We make a substantial amount of financial contribution to them in a year. From my understanding, it amounts to $3,501,635. These programs would include provincial offences, Ontario Works, child care, land ambulance, social housing, homes for the aged. As well, there's an additional $447,201 in other shared services that brings the total amount to roughly $5 million. So you may ask yourself, what do we get for $5 million bucks? Which is a very legitimate question. What we get is, wonderful superlative services that you don't find in many countries in the world. If you've been watching television lately, you'll see a commercial of an elderly, frail lady living by herself, and there's, people are reaching out for $25 a month to help her to survive and to subsist on, very menial amount of dollars. We don't have that in Renfrew County, and the reason we don't have that is because of what we contribute in our cost sharing. We're all partners. We ensure that there's place for seniors to live comfortably, safely. Children are protected. We have great hospital service within our community. A lot of countries don't have that. So when you look at the money, taxpayers' money that's going somewhere, it's going there. But there's also reciprocal, Your Worship, and members of council. That $40 million that goes out to the county comes back reciprocally in other ways. So people that are living here, living in geared income housing, they're spending money. They're buying groceries. They're buying an automobile. They're essentially contributing back to the community. So those dollars kind of snowball. I spoke with Debbie Robinson, the warden, and I wanted to congratulate her, of course, on the fine staff that they have. And I think we've, under your auspices, of course, Your Worship, we've built an even better relationship with the county than we've had in the past. and you can feel that and you can see that, and I think that's important for future projects. Their staff, as our staff here, does very well. I mean, we work together. We're not two different countries. We're living in the same county, and hopefully that in the future things will transpire to get even better. In one other item, Councillor Reevy, you had submitted a letter to the county in regards to the accessibility units that are found in Renfrew County Housing Authority and homes, nonprofit houses. And Councillor, that was an item of discussion that we discussed at our meeting in Renfrew. And Warden, the warden assured me that that would be on the agenda for the next day's meeting. And it certainly is of some concern. They do some renovation on those, handicap units as such to try and accommodate people. But to say that they actually build a number of handicap units, they're not doing that. They're not doing any building right now. But in future, that may be a proposal. And they're certainly going to get back to you. And she wanted me to relay the message to you that they're on to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Abdallah.
Thank you, Your Worship, fellow councillors. The Senior Advisory Committee, we're busy. We currently are sponsoring a survey, and we encourage everyone to fill out the survey. It's available at the PMC, Library, Kinsman Pool, and also online at the city website and City Hall here. We encourage everyone to fill out the survey because we want to develop a database of seniors, and we want to know what seniors want in our community. One of our goals that we looked at is to reach out through the database and the survey to coordinate programming with the Parks and Rec and the library and the senior 50-plus drop-in center. We had a presentation by Dan Callahan, manager of the Handy Bus, on the great services they provide, because we want to look at a transportation model for next year. Using some of the funds we get from the city budget. We get $13,500 a year for new programming. We want to develop a newsletter also that I mentioned. So we're just beginning, and it's going very well. The Aquatic Complex, which Oversight Committee, which I sit on with Councillor Jacquino, Bob McLaughlin, and Karen Davies. We worked with the city staff with the results of the survey for the pool that everybody put in, and Collier's project leaders, and we developed the design for the pool grant, which Collier's helped to submit. So that's a major highlight for this year. Keeping Pembroke Beautiful Committee, which I sit on with the Deputy Mayor. We discussed potential for a community garden project at the Carrefour property, which we're in discussion with. That'll be going on in the spring. And we are introducing an Adopt a Street park program, which will be running in 2020. And recognition awards will return for beautiful properties in Pembroke in 2020. The PBIA, which I represent the city on, has been very busy, as you can all see by the events going on downtown. They hosted 4 large events in partnership with Snow Spree. They sponsored Hockey Spree in partnership with Snow Spree. Downtown Connect Community Expo, which is going every year, held every spring at the PMC. Canada Day festivities. If anybody was down at the waterfront in Canada Day, what a wonderful event that was. And hopefully we can get the great weather again this year. Downtown Funk Street Party was also held, along with Shop Hops, Easter Basket Fun, Shop the Neighborhood, and one of the most encouraging things for young entrepreneurs in the Shamrock Park is the kids pop-up market that's held every Saturday in the morning and mid-afternoon at the Shamrock Park. 12 new businesses opened up and 5 businesses moved, and 11 downtown community improvement projects closed in 2019, receiving a total of $82,000 in funding to the program. So this is a valuable asset, and we're going to be looking in the budget tomorrow to put more money into that to top it up. They ran 3 digital free marketing workshops, continuation of fostering a positive relationship with Algonquin College, providing them with a list of students businesses that receive student discounts. They partnered with Pembroke Pride to install a Pride crosswalk. And one of the major highlights, they lobbied the City Council to approve a 6-month free parking pilot project on the main street and side streets, hoping to see very positive results, short-term and long-term. So the PBA has been quite busy. The Pembroke Heritage Mural Committee, which is led by Pam Dempsey, and we want to commend her and her committee for the years of service to the community. They're a strategic partner for the city. They spent January through April working to slow down and prevent vandalism at the timber raft mural at the waterfront, the skateboard park, and they're working with the police services board in the city to install better lighting and other methods this spring and summer. They want to commend Manager Ron Conroy and the staff, the Parks and Recreation Department, for their diligent cooperation in cleaning up around the mural site also. Mid-June, they delivered new brown moats to the timber raft site, and Poseidon Cleaning Services cleaned up the river rock, and it was ready for the July 1st weekend, and as you know, it's an entrance to the waterfront, and many people said how great it looked. The Heritage Mural Committee were pleased to donate an original painting to Pembroke's Public Library in February. Rafting Now and Then was painted in 1991 by Pierre Hardy. Advertising this year, they continue to promote a half-page ad in Travel Our Backyard, announcing the Heritage Mural's 30th anniversary. They renewed their membership with Mural Routes, and a large mailbox was replaced on the Marching Toward the Millennium beside the Giant Tiger building. So very valuable services that they provide. We want to acknowledge the PBA and their staff who keep the weeds down at several mural sites in the summer. We also want to publicly acknowledge Jane DeRoy at Purvis Gallery and Framing, who sold the souvenirs of the mural committee for years. Now the gallery is in the new premises and there's no room for the display. We also want to thank Andre Leclerc, the manager and owner of the Irving Big Stop, for letting us put our regular change of mural paintings there. So we really appreciate that. The Horticultural Society is a strategic partner, and Kathy Hughley provided me with a long list here. I'm only going to highlight a few. First of all, the waterfront. They did a beautiful job, their volunteers, in beautifying the waterfront. Without their Horticultural Society, we would have to go out and hire workers and provide staff, and they did such a great job, especially with the flood that happened. And we want to also thank Mr. Fred Blackstein for his leadership on doing that also. They had an annual plant sale at the PMC on May 18th, or at PEMACE 2, which raised the largest amount ever. Flower and vegetable show at the mall during August. They worked with the Parks and Recreation Committee. Councillor Frenier and I met with him and the Deputy Mayor at Riverside Park and the Mayor, and to come up with a wish list. So we're doing money in the city budget this past year and the future for beautifying and improving Pansy Patch Park. And the Youth Gardeners program was a success, with 66 children registered in the Youth Gardener program. So as you can see, they're a valuable partner with the city. We want to thank them. And one last quick note, the Neighborhood Watch meeting was held last week at the fire hall. The OPP inspector was there, and their two staff members, Sergeant Ducrow and Constable Peaver. The Deputy Mayor was there. We're coordinating the committee, and Councillor Friendly showed up and gave her contributions. So we had about 15 people. It was a bad day for weather. We're meeting again on March 2nd to coordinate some surveying in different neighborhoods, and we're going to grow small, but the response is very positive online and at the meeting, so we're looking forward to that. So those are the reports I have.
Thank you, Councillor Abdallah. Well, thank you very much, Council, for all of the reports. Confirming bylaw. Councillor Frenier.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ed Jackno, that bylaw 02-2020 to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council of January 21st, 2020 be adopted and passed. And further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Moved by Councillor Frenier, seconded by Councillor Jackano, that bylaw 02-2020 to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council of January the 21st, 2020 be adopted and passed. And further, that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of corporation. All those in favor? Carried. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Reevy, second. Councillor Abdal, all those in favor? We are now adjourned. Thank you.